Happy Monday, y'all. This is Charlene from Lady in Waiting 222, and today is our Monday Mini Devotional. I'm going to try to get through this without coughing, but if I do, please excuse me. So, today we're talking about, is your faith fruitful? And I probably shared something along these lines before, but it bears repeating. And so, our scripture for today is James chapter 2, verses 21 through 26. And I'm reading from the Message translation, because when I was reading this the other day, James got me all the way together, right? So it says, verse 21, wasn't our ancestor Abraham made right with God by works when he placed his son Isaac on the sacrificial altar? Isn't it obvious that faith and works are yoked partners? That faith expresses itself in works? That the works are works of faith? The full meaning of believe in the scripture sentence, Abraham believed God and was set right with God, includes his action. It's that mesh of believing and acting that got Abraham named God's friend. Is it not evident that a person is made right with God, not by a barren faith, but by faith fruitful in works? Verse 25, the same with Rahab, the Jericho harlot. Wasn't her action in hiding God's spies and helping them escape, that seamless unity of believing and doing, what counted with God? The very moment you separate body and spirit, you end up with a corpse. Separate faith and works, and you get the same thing, a corpse. So we know the story, and if not, I'll just share very briefly the story of Abraham, who was a man of faith, right? He's the father of many nations. That's what his name means. And how Abraham placed his promised son, Isaac, on the altar and was willing to kill his son based on God's instruction. That was found in Genesis chapter 22. We also know the story, and if not, I'll just share very briefly about Rahab, considered a harlot or a prostitute in those days, and how she was willing to risk her very life and hide God's spies who came to scout out land in her city. And then she also helped them to escape from the city when Jericho's king was looking for them, right? And was out to hurt them, right? So those are two of a list of many in Hebrews chapter 11 and throughout scripture who were men and women of faith. But here's what James is saying here. You cannot separate faith from works. We know that we are not saved by faith, right? We are not saved by faith, but we're saved by grace, right? Ephesians tells us that. So it's not about that type of work. Because when we get into being saved by work, so to speak, that's legalism, right? And then you really have not understood the full grasp of the gospel. But what I'm talking about is you cannot separate faith from works. If I say I believe something, there is a doing that's required. There's an action that should follow. And just as James said, if we separate the body from the spirit, it's a corpse. If there's no spirit remaining in the human body, right, this container of clay, then what do we have? A dead person. Sorry, y'all, my camera died. So I want to say, how about you? What does your faith say? If I say I'm believing something, can someone look at my life and determine and know that I have faith, that you have faith? Is it by what I'm basically saying? Is it merely by what I'm saying? Or is there an action connected to what I say I believe? What I say I have faith in? What I say I am walking out in faith? We can't just be merely called believers, without having some kind of faith, but then we ought to follow it up with some type of action. And it may not be as extreme as Abraham or Rahab, but I want you to consider today and consider this week, what in my life do I say that I'm believing God for? What am I saying that I have faith in or that I have faith for? And what action is tied to that faith that I say that I have, that belief that I say that I have? Because we want to make sure that our faith is not without actions, because then our faith literally is like a corpse. It's dead. And if you read further in James and throughout that entire chapter, it says that we're no different from demons, because demons believe in Jesus. There's no action attached to what they believe. Us as believers, we're called to walk by faith. Walking, in order to walk, it's an action. It requires movement. It requires a work. It requires some kind of doing, right? And so I want you to just consider that today as you are thinking about your week. Ask yourself, is my faith fruitful or is my faith barren? And I pray that the Lord will speak to you and show you in areas maybe that your faith is a little barren and needs to be fruitful, where your faith may be needing some action behind it. I pray you all are blessed and encouraged. Now go and be blessed and encouraged. Y'all take care and we'll talk again.